today. It's a lot of times I have insight to a lot in this work. There are some incredible stories about the boy's success, why the boy is so important. Why are we talking about the boy? Why do I spend a considerable amount of my time looking, helping, inspiring? Why 40 years was put in for the boy? Well, I didn't just do it for the boy. I did it for girls too. I was the youngest varsity basketball coach in 1993, coaching girls. Had unbelievable relationships. Put several young women into college, and made sure that they had opportunities. So this is not exclusively. The 40 years was not exclusively. What I discovered was that the boy was headed in the wrong direction. And over that time, I kind of got involved with making sure that the boy got his opportunity because I was that boy. I had no idea at 24 and 25 years old all the things that in the future I would discover. I know there was a shift when I went to coaches clinics and I sat down with Bill Walton and Guy Lewis and went to Jerry Tarkanian's room and had conversation. I knew something was off. So when I came back, it was important to me was the development because I was in position to help. And the one thing I wanted to make sure was that the young men were able to get their dreams. So that was important to me. But today we're going to talk about why the boy should be the focus and why we need to make sure that he levels up. There are many things in this country that show us daily that we want to marginalize certain people. And I'm not just talking women, black males, right, brown people. Like we literally, through the process, we're talking the poverty. The poverty is incredible. When you have 76 million people on welfare and 16 million people on welfare, and the only thing that you hand us is division and race. Well, those things are there because they wanted to prevent. There's a class in this society that says we don't want, as you can see in policy, just this year, we're making education harder. We're making you have to pay more. And we made it easy for those who in the top brackets to make more. But in this development, the politics also are taxing the poverty-stricken people. That's what this whole big bill is about. So the concern going to the future is, because it just came out, women are not having children. Families are not having children. And it also, the concern for the future is the boy. We know 1 in 3 boys are not having sex at the age of 30. That's 30-year-olds. We know the boys are distracted by video gaming, a sedentary lifestyle, overprotective parenting. So boys are not being as involved as they have. But we know that also impacts the male. We know there is only 2% of black males in teaching. We know the males have retreated from teaching. So I say all that is the focal point has to be the boys. Now, boys 5 to 11 are number 1 in suicide. When you black males, they list 5 to 11, but when you take the racist approach off, the color coding, white males and black males are number 1, ages 5 to 11 in suicide. We don't see that. They don't show that. They make sure that we keep these things out of play. While you show In the media, we show the marginalization of black and brown males. We kind of hide the marginalization of white males, and the process for where education is another area that has been attacked. So what I'm going to explain to you about these boys, why it's so important for our boys, why we need to invest in our boys, because we need to level it off so our boys can help our women achieve and make what they're supposed to make. We need our boys to level up educational wise and everything, because our daughters need quality husbands, and our daughters need male teachers, quality male teachers, not the male teachers or the male female teachers that prey on the children. The dynamic really goes like this, that we figured out this method. And the number one thing I tell you when we take on a young man, a young boy, is that we get the information. Many years ago, when I had 350 boys on the east side, this was the first time, because I was concerned. They were picking up boys on writs to fill up the juveniles. This was a very profound thing to me while working in the juvenile. So I got with a friend and we went out and we launched a process where we were able to gather 350 males on the east side. We didn't have not one fight. Our goal was to make 15 weeks. We only made 14. And today, 14 weeks is the same amount of time that our mentoring program, Emmy Future Leaders, is executed. I saw immediate change in the 14 weeks just from the effort of us working with the young people, especially our young men. I also saw at that time that we could evolve the parent. By involving the parent, you don't have to really go out your way to involve an educated parent. Most of the time, the educated parent will show up at the school and be involved. Well, in this case, we had kids from all over, and so the parents were showing up for this process that we were holding it, and we only got 14 weeks. So we carried that into where I was grabbing 200 boys for free, 200 boys for free, right? So I had 6 years where we averaged 200 boys a couple of times a year. And that's when I started discovering even more. One, literacy was an issue. Two, the parents didn't want to fill out the application when we started asking for application. Three, the young men didn't know how to really comply with the voice of a male. If you had a female in the position, a woman, just like it was in the juvenile, they would jump for the woman, but didn't know how to respond, so they were in defense of the man. Well, in our program, it was only men. So to comply, they had to listen. That was the importance. That was another thing that we discovered. The other thing that we discovered with our boys is we took the N-word off the table. Our number one rule is you couldn't use the N-word, which then expanded their vocabulary. We noticed immediately that they could complete sentences and everything. So right away, we were able to see a number of these things. But we had several individual cases and situations that I really think about all the young men we were able to help over the years, right? And some young men we took into our homes, right, and helped, right? So it wasn't some young men we made sure that we were completely involved, which helped develop our process for the Emmy Future Leaders. So once we started asking parents to fill out for data, that's when the numbers immediately dropped. And we recognized right away that these boys were in trouble. So I began to raise my voice, sound the alarm, write op-eds, point out, even before I even knew how to write an op-ed, I was writing opinions about what were the boys going through. Because, You remember on Facebook you could write notes, right? And so I was writing all these notes, and I was a terrible writer. Like at the time, I was terrible. I didn't know no better, and I was just driven by this passion to make sure to tell everybody that the boys were in trouble. And the great part about it is, while I was grabbing 200 boys, in the back room of the same church was Jason Wilson with his cave of Adullam. And we continued to do the work. Today, the Cave of Adullam is a very good program. It's very happy. My son went through the Cave of Adullam, was baptized at the Cave of Adullam, and I continue to do the work where we've had 18,000 males since 2007. So we know we have a formula. We know that we can make a difference. We know that our boys then, 1 and 3, one of our boys, after they leave our program, they shape the lives of 3 boys at the maximum. We know that our boys, after I leave in our program, they're confidently stronger, physically, mentally, and spiritually. We know that when our boys leave our program, they are designed as the future leaders of tomorrow, so they have to do community service. So all our boys are equipped to do community service, which helps, where that's going to be a wave of young men that is being in process. One of my young men started his own work and nonprofit at the University of Michigan to help athletes. He's now getting ready to graduate from Western Michigan. He graduated from 3 years in Michigan, and now he's at Western Michigan. There are a number of great stories, but I want to give you these things because it's important that we shape the boy. Because right now, the weights, right? When a boy is born without his father, that's a weight. When a boy goes to daycare, he's 44 times likely to be kicked out of daycare. That's a weight. When it is triggered in the classroom where it's a female teacher that doesn't honor, respect, doesn't know how to deal with him, that's a weight. When he goes home and he's not hungry, that's a weight. When we give them everything and we tell them everything's going to be all right, that lie, that becomes a weight. So boys are already weighed down with this formula in America where he doesn't really have a voice when he goes to school. As I talked about yesterday, he has a number of obstacles led by women because education flipped over. And so boys have to be a certain way, and there's an expectation. So that's another weight that he has to deal with. So that's why there's another component when you hand him video gaming. Although there are some men who are males who are successful at video gaming, earning a living the whole nine, their personal conduct, their character development is not as strong. So it makes them emotional. That's another weight. So when he's denied access to his father, that's a weight. So here go a couple of things that you can do for your sons, right? That we have most definitely did. And these are 3 basic things that you can make a difference in your son's life, right away. God says, spare the rod, spoil the child, right? So the rod doesn't necessarily mean spanking, abuse. The rod means to discipline them. Make sure that they are disciplined in what they're supposed to do, right? So the first thing is you have to spend time teaching discipline to your son. It's an important tool. So the number one thing you should be teaching your son as soon as he falls out of the womb is respect. You have to teach males respect. That's an important piece. Respect of authority, respect of himself first, and then respect of authority, parents, and respect of community, teachers, class, peers, the whole nine. You have to teach your sons respect, because if you teach them emotion, they will then learn to fully manipulate you as their parent. So that's the first thing. Teach your sons respect. The second thing is make sure that you are not lying to your children, especially to your son. Because when you lie and he sees that you lie, he registers that as a behavior that is okay. Your daughters do too. But your daughters are more likely to call you out on it. Your sons are more likely to be quiet and use it when it's time. And when they get to an age or when they get stronger than you, they will stand up and tell you, I watched you lie to everybody. So you have to be sincere how you're raising a son, because that boy, he's going to take it in and he's going to wait to use it. And he's going to use it against you, parents. He's going to say to his peers, my parents lie all the time. They don't even know I know. So that's the second thing. You don't want to teach them to lie, because then you turn them into something that you are not going to like, because then he's going to use that very thing against you. And number 3, more than anything, you want to teach your sons community service. Take your sons, right? Take your sons and let them work community service. Let them be involved with community service, right? Because if they're giving back, they learn a sense of humility. And that sense of humility is important to their future leadership. Because what do we want for our boys to do? Become men, husbands, and fathers. We want our boys to be raised in order. And that is the key. And that is another reason why boys matter. You can reach me at calvintmann.com. Click subscribe right here at METV and check out some of our footage on our Put Your Family First podcast, and chime in if there's anything that you need or a conversation. You can leave it at the comments, but understand that our boys are ultimately important, and our job is to shape these things in our boys so they can be valuable to their families. Peace.
One of my favorite quotes till this day: God will put you back together in front of those who broke you.